It's Car Con Carne in broad daylight. Quarantine Con Carne as we're all sheltering in place, sheltering at home. Car Con Carne wants you to know that Siren Records McHenry is now offering curbside pickup and online ordering. You can check out their new website at sirenrecordsmchenry.com. If you're in a band, own a label, and want to get your product in a store, message them on social media or call the store. Siren Records McHenry, always looking to support local music. Car Con Carne also sponsored by C&H Financial Services. Joining me today, it's been a little bit. You know that Siren Store. What's that?
Nothing. I was checking on my phone.
Okay. Joining me right there, Mike Vinopal, Director of Education, and Joel, the Director of Public Policy for Hope for the Day, a very important charity. I last talked to you guys on April 8th, which days and months seem meaningless at this point, but it's been a little bit, and I wanted to check back in with both of you.
Yeah,
so hello.
Weird trip, right? It's been a weird, strange couple months.
Yeah.
So I've had you do this before, but for people who are just joining us or who are new to the idea of Hope for the Day, the elevator pitch for the work you do.
Joel, you want to give it a go this time?
Sure. That's totally fine. We achieve proactive suicide prevention through mental health education, talking about stigmas and the things that make us feel a little bit more normal. And we're trying to kind of normalize the conversation about mental health by just talking about it. So we're starting a conversation collectively as an organization, and we partner with companies and cities and corporations and bands and concerts and festivals when those things do return to kind of have the conversation about mental health, in turn creating a proactive prevention mechanism through outreach, education, and action.
I should acknowledge before we go much farther, Mike, who is on my left, the Handsome Care Con Carne t-shirt. You know, I put that up there. I just launched that shirt a week and a half ago, and I said I want to turn over all the proceeds from those sales to Hope for the Day. The response was modest, and I realized this is a tough time to fundraise because everyone's hurting, everyone needs help, and I wonder if you're feeling that as well as a fundraising organization.
I think you're doing the right thing, trying to give people something cool that makes them feel happy. I know that when this arrived and like the hug emoji, the care emoji, it feels good to receive something and know you're supporting a good cause, even if it's your own. But I would encourage people to continue to just try and give whatever they can to organizations they care about, be it Hope for the Day or something else, because we want to get out of this thing with all the cool nonprofits doing all the cool, amazing, impactful work intact, So the service industry, Joel's rocking a t-shirt that he got helping the Chicago Hospitality United fundraising, and they were awarding you various apparel and cool stuff for your support. So I think you're going about it the right way. And it's just, everybody's just trying to kind of get through this financially. It's tough.
It is. And Joel Frieders, again, Director of Public Policy, not to distract from the conversation about suicide prevention, but it looks like you're in a pretty sweet man cave.
So if the quarantine has allowed me to do anything, it's to unpack the many, many boxes that were just in my basement, strewn around haphazardly since I graduated college in December of 2002. So my wife and I started working on our basement about 2 years ago, and my office was supposed to be, like a decent size. It's literally 5.5 by 11. And there's a whole bunch of ducts. So it's not very big, but I was able to hang out some of my guitars and kind of sprawl out a little bit. And my little corner of my basement is now my favorite place. So
you're making it work, man. It looks good.
But it's not relegated to just men. My daughter and my wife have both been in here, so I don't discriminate. Just no outside people outside of my family.
That's true.
And I think you just drew attention to something I think we're all aware of, but is worth saying. It's important to kind of carve out your own space as you're doing the sheltering in place. Yeah.
That's a great intersection about mental health and your boundaries, and how important boundaries are, and how much a luxury they have become as far as however you're navigating the space you're quarantined in with the
Yeah.
people you're quarantined with, if you're with people. If you're not, that's a whole other ball of wax.
There's a fact on your website. Suicide completion rates have surged to a 30-year high. I guess I'm not surprised, but that's the sort of thing that takes your breath away when you read it.
No, absolutely. We talk about how the number is 121 plus. In 2017, which I think is like the last full year of actual, statistics that are available. I think it was 47,000 Americans completed suicide, which if you do the division, I think it's closer to like 129. But that includes everyone from, law enforcement, that includes the farmers in the heartland, that includes teens, that includes, active duty military. It's a strange intersection of no one is immune to the fact that if we're not talking about the things that actively shake our bottles and about the things that actively release that tension and that pressure, we're not going to be doing much about ending that trend.
So have the conversations, talk to people.
Absolutely.
Check in with people, check in on friends and family.
Yeah. The other thing too is not being afraid to kind of share what you're frustrated or angry about with.
Mhm.
You don't have to kind of go on Facebook and do a public massacre of something that, you feel is a injustice. You don't have to go completely outward. Talking about the things that suck at dinner, whether it's over FaceTime with a friend who's also eating. If you don't talk about the stuff that sucks, you can't really segue into the stuff that's actually kind of a blessing right now. And I know not a lot of people have the blessings, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't get off your chest the things that are kind of filling you with joy, because you might end up inspiring someone else.
In addition to the 30-year stat, the UN Secretary General said this week, the COVID-19 virus is not only attacking our physical health, it's also increasing psychological suffering, grief at the loss of loved ones, shock at the loss of jobs, isolation and restrictions on movement, difficult family dynamics, uncertainty, and fear for the future. That's it. That's
a lot. It's a lot of people have to deal with, in whatever intersection you find yourself sitting at right now. It could be coming at you in a multitude of ways, and it could be just one way that it's hitting you, and it doesn't really matter. It's not the Pain Olympics. It's not, it's not something you need to compare to one another. Right now, the reality is that this is a collective trauma we're experiencing. And when you're in a situation where you feel distressed in any way, your brain, which we all have, so mental health impacts every single one of us, which we're starting to understand under these conditions, it starts to produce different chemicals related to that feeling of anxiety or being unsafe or having no beginning, middle, and end, or an ending at all to what's in front of you. Preparing your mind in those ways is something we took for granted. And if you didn't really acknowledge mental health impacting everybody before, I think it's pretty evident that it's a true statement. And to operate at that level of anxiety, that fight or flight kicks in and it just stays on, that can take a huge toll on you and impact your quality of life significantly. Because if you're feeling tired and you're like, I didn't do anything today, but I'm tired, or I can't focus, or I can't regulate my emotions, those are the reasons, because you are experiencing a high level of stress and pressure, over an extended period of time. So adapting to that new routine can help, but it's not that easy. And it's worth acknowledging that right now it's okay not to be okay. It's worth acknowledging that every day. But that's why the work we're doing is really important, because if we start these conversations right now, we'll come out of this better and more resilient as a community that can talk, that can help people be a bridge in their community to resources when people are struggling, instead of just turning a blind eye or being like, oh, I'm not talking about that. That's taboo.
It's weird. I've been affected in a weird way in that I just don't really want to communicate much outside of this podcast. I'm just kind of done. I don't feel like having much conversation. I'm just kind of getting through stuff. I have this as a nice outlet, but I find the ongoing conversation so exhausting that I don't even want to engage. I don't know if that's just depression or a reaction, but I just don't really want to chat much.
Yeah, it could be a kind of a combination of both. I mean, I go through peaks and valleys, and I don't know if you have anything similar to this, but my peaks and valleys can come within 15, 20 minutes apart from each other. It's not like full days of like, oh, screw everyone. I'm talking like 10, 15 minute stints where I'm like, the world's going to be amazing. And then I go right back down beneath where I was when I like first woke up, like super down in the dumps. So like the ups and downs aren't just day to day. I mean, they can literally be hour to hour.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm 40. I should have a little bit more of a thicker backbone, but it's like, it's almost like every time you're like, all right, it can't get much worse, something else drops. And nobody really has a playbook for any of this stuff. So how you respond, all you can be is be upfront and say, you know what, I got some really, really terrible news, or this happened, whatever. And you can preface the fact that you're not engaging much. It's not that, you know, you're shutting people out. It's just that right now, what do you have to add to the conversation? And that's part of my issue right now is I can't help a lot of this stuff. So I choose to kind of participate publicly in ways that aren't to pile onto someone else's really, really heavy load. So some people don't think like that. So you have to be able to smile and nod and then turn them off or mute them for a little bit. And that's probably been the that and John Hughes movies. I'm not going to lie, that the Uncle Buck had me going for like 3 days.
Uncle Buck. Yeah. Oh my God.
The movie still holds up. So I'm just
love Uncle Buck, man.
It's
underrated work of film right there, baby.
We tried Biodome. That did not.
No, that's yeah.
Pauly Shore didn't age well. Are you kidding?
Son-in-Law is timeless, and I highly recommend it. I quote that movie daily, but
Biodome, no.
Biodome is no.
We're learning a lot about you today, Joel.
Yeah.
Every day about you.
3 days an unveiling.
Here's the challenge. As we're all stuck at home, it is so easy to just immerse yourself in social media. Just get lost in the scroll, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or whatever. It's so easy to get sucked into that. I kind of feel, and you know, one size fits all never works, but I kind of feel like a good solution is regulate how much time you're spending on social media, because I find that can really chip away at you. Yeah. And Mike is nodding.
Well, I would nod vigorously. I would nod with my whole body if I could, right? Because what you're saying is right on the nose. And what you said before, as far as like kind of wanting to just keep to yourself and just focus on the day, and you know, that's self-care. And for each of us, it's going to be different. For some of us, it is going to be, I'm just going to focus on me. I don't really feel like talking to anybody, because that solitude, that can bring you peace, that reflection time, whatever you use it for, that rest time. But you know, if you're somebody out there that is really needing that bump of a physical connection, albeit screen to screen, and you're on your FaceTime, you're on your Zoom all day, and it's really helping, and then you hit your like, oh man, too many Zooms, and you need to take a break. You got all of this is unheard of. The world is bonkers. Every bit of news you hear can throw you into a tailspin. So be very deliberate about the social media that you ingest, because you can use that thing. You can use it for good. You can be like, hey, I'm going to go on Facebook and I'm going to go right to Cark and Carne, and I'm going to watch an episode I missed. You do that very deliberate. I'm going here. Okay, I'm there. I'm watching it. And when it's done, I'm going to set my phone down for a little bit, maybe plug it in the other room, and get back to doing something else that doesn't require a screen to fill up your heart, fill up your soul, because you got to do everything that you can possibly think of right now to keep those negative thoughts that are coming from every direction, just keep them from gaining a head of steam. That's my experience anyway.
Well, can you give some other good examples of self-care? How someone can take care of his or herself?
So not everybody's a musician, but I would say any expressive modality that you find creative. For me, I've been playing tons of guitar. I've got a piano and a bunch of keyboards upstairs in my office, and trying to record ideas, even if they don't amount to much, and singing harmonies with myself, or sending videos back and forth to people on the music slant. But you can do drawing, painting, poetry. There's quarantine karaoke out there. You can do some karaoke if you need your karaoke fix. If you're into movement, I know that people are doing a lot of different virtual classes for dance and exercise, and turn over a new leaf, try something new. And don't go down a YouTube conspiracy hole if you don't feel like it. You can go down a YouTube, I'm gonna learn something new hole. That sounded weird. That came out weird. But you can also, go to have you guys scratched the surface on that Google Arts and Culture website where there's just links upon links of virtual tours, and you can go to the Louvre and, go places you've never been, and you can do it with your friends, or you can do it with your family, or you can do it just solely for you. And I think cooking has been hugely helpful. Getting your hands in some soil, even if it's just like you got a bunch of pots on your porch or something like that, or on your windowsill, like tending to a plant and watching the new leaf unfurl, however small that might seem to you right now, listening to me talk about it, it gives you something to look forward to. Yeah, it gives you something to nurture, and
organizing
that helps that way too.
Basically, keeping your hands busy can be considered self-care. Like I said, like this was just a room that was filled with all of the crap from throughout the house. And it took, 5-6 weeks of an hour here, hour there, because nobody has the attention span that could sustain a full, home organization. At least I don't anymore. I think I don't. Lost it. Yeah. I lost it in the pandemic of 2020. But also not being afraid of the new reality can also be considered self-care. Like, you know what? All right, this is the way that it is. I have to learn something about how do I kind of maintain this stuff. So I mean, for me, just like reading the self-help subreddits has been kind of cool, because you see people that like, I'm highly ADHD, and I'm sure you've already kind of gathered that. But the fact that I now know that it's not like a crutch, not something I have to like worry about, or like that holds me back or slows me down. When you look at it as a superpower and something that is a skill that you can actually improve, you can kind of take a relatively negative experience about something and then look at it from outside of yourself and go, that's just possibly either the way that I process things, and I should be more aware of that in the future, or kind of giving yourself grace. Like thinking about the things that stressed you out, for me, has been self-care, because I'm focusing on the bad things. And when you focus on them and understand that sometimes you don't have an explanation why something so stupid can piss you off for so long, that's been actually relatively therapeutic, because I'm figuring it out. So when I'm encountered with that same type of BS again, I can choose to let it roll off, or I can focus on it more and figure out what specifically is it about this that makes me so damn frustrated.
Well said.
Man,
go ahead, Mike.
That was good. That was good. I'd say that it reminded me a quote of the way to deal with your feelings is not to like push them down, but to go through them and to like try and process them in real time, because we've been so programmed to like push them down and just carry them with you for like 10 years before they get so heavy that they're busting your back, Yeah. So,
I found, and maybe I mentioned this last time we talked, for me, for self-care, part of what helps is not thinking big picture, not thinking, well, I'm going to be in place for the next 2.5 months. Because I think that gets big and dramatic and overwhelming. It is about, for me, little milestones along the way. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm going to learn how to do this, or tomorrow I'm going to try to bake cinnamon rolls, or tomorrow I'm going to just little things to look forward to instead of the crushing, I'm going to be doing this for the next 3 months. That's one of the ways I've been coping.
Yeah. And it's also kind of addressing the, when I was a kid, I remember going to Epcot at Disney, and it was like looking into the future. And the future was like 20 years ago. And the fact that like nothing is what I thought it was going to be, but now we're getting kind of closer to this. What's technology going to do for social distancing? What's restaurants going to look like when we go back to them? What are the breweries that I've been, supporting for the last 5 or 6 years? What are they going to look like when this is all over? But not looking at it like in a negative way, kind of going, all right, what's it going to look like, as if it's like an Epcot, the thing where you're on the card, you're watching kind of, this is the way that it is now. And the fact that there are some things that are incredibly beneficial. Like my wife just got the permission to work from home. Like she now works from home. That's been her goal since we got out of college, because she just wanted to be at home. And all of the jobs out here, like I live in Bufu, I live in Yorkville. So like for her to go even to the suburbs is an hour and a half on a good day,
sure,
or 3 or 4 hours on a snowy day. So the fact that she now has that stress that's been eliminated, yes, of course, there's compounding issues with how that's going to impact not only the businesses that are around there that support themselves through their lunch, takeout, whatever it might be. Yes, there are going to be impacts, but looking at the small granular, what's the positive? But then also, like you said, what am I going to do tomorrow? And kind of leaving it at that, because if you plan out too far, What if something changes? And then you're disappointed. Like, we've already canceled all of our vacations. Sure. And this was like the first year where we actually planned things. Like, dude, we rented a boat with 2 slides.
Oh, a houseboat?
Dude, 2 slides.
2 slides.
2 slides.
I know for a fact that if there's one thing I can do is that I can fall down a lubricated piece of plastic into a greater body of water faster than other people. Now, you know, if I focus on the fact that I won't be able to demonstrate how fast I am, for lack of a better adjective, that'd be pretty freaking monumentally depressing. And it is. But look at my badass Joel cave, my very own walk-in Joel hole. This is great.
Yes.
That is a good-looking walk-in Joel hole. No doubt about it.
Walk-in Joel.
No doubt about it. So as we kind of spin things forward and look ahead, what are you working on? How can we help? What initiatives are you kind of bubbling up right now?
Well, a great little like segue from self-care is that self-care can be totally non-clinical level stuff, like things we've mentioned. But like, you might even need a schedule of some sort. For me, I like to keep it kind of informal, because then I feel bad if I don't stick to the schedule. But do what feels good for you. And if you need professional resources for your self-care to stay well, we should be able to go to mental health professionals, just like we go to the dentist, to keep our teeth nice and shiny and healthy. We should be able to access a therapist, a counselor, things of that nature to keep our minds well, because it's just another big old organ. It's the boss organ. So if you go to hftd.org, the Hope for the Day website, check out the Hope for the Day resource compass, because help is closer than you think. There are a plethora of social services that you can search in any U.S. zip code. So not only does that allow you to see what's around you, but if you got somebody in another state that you're maybe worried about and you want to try and get out in front of it and be like, hey, there's some stuff around you in case this is helpful, and be that bridge, go to hft.org. hftd.org will get you to the Hope for the Day resource compass, and try typing in your zip code and try it out. It's good to know that there's things out there. Ultimately, as far as our programming right now, you can get educated twice a week, because they're 1-hour workshops, and we've been told the opposite of it's okay not to be okay, basically, for generations and generations. So sometimes it takes more than once to really kind of chew on it and move yourself in a positive direction to be proactive with your own mental health. And that's okay. Like, we have a lot of learned behavior to overcome as individuals. So Tuesdays at 11 a.m., Saturdays at 2:30, those are Central Standard Time, and you can register for free at peervention.org. Peervention is just our shorthand for what we do. We teach you how to do peer-to-peer proactive prevention in your sphere of influence. Because if we make it okay to talk about mental health, that's how we can save some lives in our community, as our role as community members. You know, we don't have to be doctors or nurses to start this conversation. So come check that out so we can shake up the conversation together. We announced our first programming variant this past week. It's called Project Red Team. Red.
He muted
hang
himself.
There we go. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. Project Red Team is the acronym RED in the military communities has stood for Remember Everyone Deployed. We've appropriated it to reminding everyone deployed. We've also redefined what deployed means, inviting both military and first responders to the party and their families to be able to take peer-to-peer proactive prevention to that next level, empowering peers from that community, from that intersection, so that they can
That's great.
Be a little more sensitive to the unique contributing factors in those communities. We got another one rolling out this week, but I won't spill the beans. You can just stay tuned on Hope for the Day, social media and such.
All right. Well, guys, Joel Frieders, Director of Public Policy, Mike Vinopal, Director of Education for Hope for the Day. I really do appreciate these check-ins. I think they're helpful. And if nothing else, it's just nice to see people's faces. And it's nice for people who jumped on Facebook Live just to kind of peek in on this conversation, I think. Mark, Rick, Phil, Mike, David, Christy says, thanks. Keep up the good work. Ryan, Mark, Jet, Gina, Christina, Edmund, Molly, Jean, Ryan, Corey gives high fives. Nicole, Jessica, Eric,
Pluses.
Susan. Let's see, Kelly, Carlos, Anthony, a lot of people watching. So thank you for that. I'm assuming we'll be here for a little while, so maybe we'll check in again before this is all said and done.
We're not going anywhere.
Maybe me and Joel will do a special collaboration, a song of hope, if you will.
Yeah, I've been working on my cycle.
Well, we love you, JVO. Thanks, man, for having us as always.
Thanks, JVO.
Thank you, guys. I'm going to stop the Facebook Live. What's that?
You're amplifying the message that it's okay not to be okay, and that means the world to us.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Trying to help. All right. Thank you for watching on Facebook Live.